Well, hello and welcome to another Merit Moment. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm JB Howard. And as promised, each of these weekly Merit Moments are going to come with a Howard Homestead update, whether you're ready for it or not. I really got a laugh this time around. This is one of our longer updates. And when Chris and I sat down to reflect, put together our thoughts for this week, we really felt like there wasn't much going on until we put our minds to it. So here we go. Over the past week or so, we'll start with the bad news first, if we could. Krista's horse, Oliver, unfortunately was diagnosed with a ligament tear. So he's on what we call stall rest. She's really just walking him around the littlest of bit and letting him graze just outside the barn. We've been researching the best treatments so that she can get back up and riding Oliver. The garden, just about done for the season. Our country COVID/emergency edition of a pool that we've got in the backyard over the last year and a half. We're working on closing that down for the season over the course of the next weekend. Now, thankfully, we're ready to turn the corner and talk about good news. So from that perspective, we are still enjoying a vast amount of flower cuttings and vases all over the house. I had to laugh. I didn't even have a chance to talk to Krista about this. I found one in a bathroom last night. So that's when you truly know you've got a large flower garden and you have more than enough to go around. So the chickens, I don't know if I've mentioned it in the past, in this format, but we've got about 60 chickens that we keep from an egg perspective. Usually we keep them in a large, very large chicken pen, and we've let them free range again, mainly so that, or because we're spending a lot of less time on our patio. So we can afford to have them out and about. Several battles are being fought with, for some reason, multiple hornet's nests. So Kyler actually came in last week with a pretty nice bite or sting on his leg, having drug the trash cans the 150 yards down to the street. So since that point, we've been going after the hornets. And finally, we're really looking forward to scheduling as many fall hikes as possible. Krista and I love wandering in the woods, and thankfully our kids love us, so they usually cooperate. We get a few whimpers along the way. Usually from our youngest family member, but she knows how much we enjoy it, so that works out pretty well. So let's switch gears. Let's get down to business, so to speak. Today we're getting into a topic that the media really doesn't cover very often. It really isn't covered because it can get a bit confusing, and it's often a little difficult to explain in a coherent way. I think it's incredibly important, though, for everyone who's planning for retirement to understand sequence of returns risk. So I'm going to do my best this afternoon to explain it well. As always, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Punch them into the comment bar, send us an email or a Facebook message afterwards. Happy to address that. Clearly, it's easier to discuss these things face-to-face, but I want to put this information in your hands, whether we get a chance to work together or not. So here we go. Sequence of returns risk affects anyone who has or who has stock in their retirement portfolios. That would be most people who have saved for retirement. Investopedia defines this risk as the danger that the timing of withdrawals from a retirement account will have a negative impact on the overall rate of return available to the investor. This can have a significant impact on a retiree who depends on the income from a lifetime of investing and is no longer contributing new capital that can offset losses. In other words, we're taking money out, we're not putting money in anymore. To put it plainly, the timing of your retirement can affect the longevity of your retirement accounts. Sometimes the timing is even more important than how much you have in the accounts. If the value of your life savings drops 40% in your first year of retirement, and you still have to sell your stocks, bonds, mutual funds to have money to live, produce an income, since that's what your retirement accounts are for, it could drop the value of your investments to a place where what you have left in your account only lasts maybe for 15 years instead of 30. The reality is this: in the wealth building phase, every time you add money to your retirement accounts, if they're stock investments, that money is going to be used to purchase stocks, mutual funds, and etc. Everyone knows that the stock market tends to fluctuate. JB, what's the market going to do? It's going to go up and it's going to go down. So we've all been counseled to write it out when the value of our portfolio falls, because eventually it's going to come back again. And that just is the case. So if you're investing over the course of 10 years and you've got some years where the market gives you a negative return, Common wisdom states that it'll correct if you just wait long enough. That all works fine and well when you're still investing and still buying stocks over the course of those corrections. The main reason this works in your favor is that you're able to buy stocks during those bear market years that have the ability to then grow when the value of the stock market bounces back. It's then that the value of your holdings increases because the money you spent when prices went down was able to get you more assets. When you're in the investment stage, it won't matter if a bear market comes early on or later, because the average rate of return over that same 10-year period, it's going to be the same. We're not taking money out. On the other hand, what happens when you retire in a bear market? That's when you face the sequence of returns risk, and it can be a negative thing. The performance of the stock market in the first 5 to 10 years of retirement is going to determine how long your retirement investments will last. So that's where the risk comes from. Once you stop investing money and buying new stocks, you depend on the value of what you're selling. In a bull market, you can sell a set number of stocks that cover a year's worth of income and still have plenty left in your portfolio that's going to continue to increase in value. But in a bear market, you'll have to sell more stocks to get the same amount of income. Once the stocks are sold, they're gone, and they won't be able to gain any more money for you once the market goes back up. It's that concept of lost opportunity cost. At that point, the holdings you have left can rebound, but when there's a bear market early, it can reduce the amount of stocks you own to a point you don't ever make it back to where you were before. Now, I'm hoping this concept is starting to make some sense, but just in case it doesn't, I'm going to try and use an analogy to help really bring this home and center it, because some people hear financial talk and their eyes glaze over. I do get it. I do understand it. Not everybody gets excited about this stuff like we do here. But again, I think it's important to understand this. So we're going to use a homestead example because it works for me. It works for our family. So here we go. During the summer, Ohio gardeners have an abundance of summer squash like zucchini. They've been all over our house for weeks. So it doesn't really sell for very much at the farmer's market because everyone's got a friend that's giving away their crop to anyone who will volunteer to take it off their hands. As a side note, we traded a good bit of our zucchini away this year and traded it for sweet corn. It was a pretty good deal. We've been enjoying that over the last few weeks. Now, zucchini is not stocks, but sometimes discussing stocks can feel a little harder to grasp because you don't really do much with them other than read a report a few times a year at the end of each quarter. Talking about something a little more tangible can help with that particular disconnect. So imagine this with me. You have two gardeners in the zucchini business. They both purchase the same amount of seeds and the same amount of supplies to build different garden beds. They both go about building their garden beds differently though. The first one builds some really spectacular raised garden beds, grows an extensive crop over the summer. They sell their crop for $5 a peck, which translated to English is a quarter of a bushel. So $5 a peck. And they only end up holding back some of it for when the price increases because it's zucchini and doesn't really last very long, as we all know. The second gardener grows a moderate crop over the summer in a regular garden plot, but also builds a specialized greenhouse so they can grow zucchini over the winter when it's going for $20 a peck. So 4 times as much. Gardener A and Gardener B both grew 45 pecks of zucchini during the course of the year. Gardener A sold all but 10 of the pecks in the summer. They walked away with $175,000 on their summer sale, and they found a way to preserve the last 10 pecks until the price went up. They still had some left to sell when the price went up, but they were forced to sell a large amount of their crop during those low price days. At the end of the year, they made $375, even though when the price went up to $20 a peck and they had 10 pecks left to sell, okay? So for the most part, everything got sold at the lower prices. Gardener B only sold 10 pecks over the summer. They still had 35 pecks to harvest or to sell when the prices went up to $20 a peck. They ended up with $750 for the same amount of produce because they were able to sell it when the price was high, and they still had plenty left to sell. Clearly, this is maybe even more than a mildly ridiculous example, but sometimes that helps our brain grasp these topics. So the fact is this: we have no say or control over what the stock market does in the first 5 years of retirement. And a lot of that rests upon luck, okay? I'm not a fan of leaving my clients' money in the hands of luck. And that's why our team makes sure that we allocate to options that don't have to be tied to this kind of risk. It's got to be part of the plan. You need a secure overall income plan just in case there's a bear market that hits your first few years of retirement. It's something everyone really should consider. If you could, think in terms of folks that were heading into 2001 and 02 or 08 and 09 looking to retire. How much would those bear markets have affected their retirement? How much income they might take, or whether they would retire at all? It can have a pretty big impact. So if you retire in a bear market, you need to be able to leave the large majority of your stocks alone, anything that's depressed, until the market bounces back. And you need to be much like the gardener who built the greenhouse and hold on to that crop until it's worth something again, okay? As Julia Kagan writes in her Investopedia article about returns risk, sequence risk is, for the most part, a matter of luck. If you retire in a bull market, your account may grow large enough to sustain a subsequent or upcoming downturn. If you retire in a bear market, your account balance might never recover. And we've met people that fall into that stage. And over the last 10 or so years that suffered for a good while after 08 and 09. We've met some of those clients. It's important to make a retirement plan to mitigate this risk. I can't state it simpler enough. When you retire, you need to be set and have the money set aside for the first 5 years, no matter what the stock market does. Now, I took the time to share this with you all because there are options for creating a plan that will carry you forward if you retire in a bear market or bull market for that matter. If you didn't know that this was a possibility, you couldn't plan for it. I want you to be prepared. It's my mission, and I'm taking this very seriously. With that in mind, if you'd like more information, if you'd like to spend some time, learn more about our process, please take the time to reach out. You can schedule a 15-minute chat with me or Jason or Anthony, any of the planners here at Merit, just by going to www.meritadvisorsllc.com and clicking the Start Now button in the top right-hand corner, or click on the complimentary 15-minute call. That's actually going to take you right to our calendar and get you set up with a time for us to get together. You get to decide what time works for you without having to make multiple phone calls or emails back and forth. One of the great many advantages we have in today with current technology. So all in all, thanks for joining me today. I hope to see you back here next week when we'll be discussing the basics of inflation, kind of a big topic these days, and why that also matters as you put together and create your retirement strategies. In closing today, we attended a leadership conference earlier this week, and the team and I learned so very much. But as a takeaway, we left with a quote from President Roosevelt that I had never heard. Comparison is the thief of joy. In relation to our discussions that we've had and that we're going to have, there will always be someone with more success, more resources, or more opportunity. The key is to be grateful for what we do have and keep planning. Your future is worth it, and I truly believe that. So have a great rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed the update today and the sequence of return risk. I look forward to seeing you again next week, next Thursday at 3 o'clock for a little bit on inflation. Have a great day. Thank you all so much.